Well, hopefully this is all working. Let me just wait till it all comes up here. And that looks like it was engaged. Very good. Hello, everybody. Does it look as hot as it is? Let me get to the chat here and let me try to change this view. Hello, everybody. Boy, we've got a lot to unpack today, folks. A lot. I'm going to be covering a lot of different areas, but all focused on a very specific item. I'll say hello and allow people to flow into the room here. We've got Kelly Spirit of Christ, Lynn McGraw, Jules 0829, VW Blue Sky, William Wilson, Mobile Savage, Scrub, good to see you, Scrub. I Believe, good to see you. Hunting Wolf, good to see you as well. All the moderators, thanks so much. Divine Renegade, very good to see all of you here. Thanks. I'm going to ask, and Tracy as well. Peter Meteor, Witz, Grace Thomas, Trek for Truth, Nancy Smith, chose upon, boy, these are flying here. Laura Castro, Tanya Healy, and hopefully I've got some of the other folks here that I've invited. We'll see if Kevin Moylan shows up. Kevin, come on, man, show up. The Big D that I spoke to on the phone, Big D, I love you very much. You know that. I'm doing really well, brother. R. Gonzalez says, Sarah C. Green-Eyed Okie, good to see you. Strange Skies, April Michelle. As Above, So Beloved. Z-Dub, good to see you too, Z-Dub. So, boy, when I say that we have a lot to unpack, I am using StreamYard today, so you'll see that we'll get to do some fun things with comments. At least you've seen this on other channels. You've seen me. I've used it before. I used it a long time ago. Don't you really use all this? But so Kelly says, don't forget to hit that like button. Kelly Spirit of Christ said that, please. And if you're on a cell phone, what you do is you close chat, hit the thumbs up button, and then open chat again, and you'll be right back. So do that because it really, really helps us with the YouTube algorithm, particularly with what is going on right now. With so much of the censorship, whether or not Trump has done something or tried to take a shot over the bow. Yeah, it's all interesting. Maybe we'll get to that. That's just another piece of it that is really just small. Boy, I wish that we had a group around. I would like to be able to put something together where we have you, some of you, just a group of 10 or 15, just be able to talk with you about some of the things that are going on, because this is quite difficult to unwrap. And I was watching chat and listening, and everybody has different opinions as to what is going on. You know, that these are planned riots. And let me just say that all of you are correct. Well, how could that be? Well, it can. That's what we're going to unwrap today. So let me get rid of this over here. Sorry, I'm still keeping Kelly's thing up here. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start with first, just a little piece of the CNN crew being arrested in Minneapolis. We're going to start there, and you're going to understand why I'm starting there in just a minute. So I'm going to play this, and I want you just to pay very, very close attention. Let me do this here. Very close attention to after the correspondent gets arrested, and they're arresting I believe, the producer. But listen to what he says to the police, because this is going to speak volumes to what I'm going to show you. And I've got a lot to show you tonight. So I was going to start early because it's so hot in here. I appreciate all of you. You can see that I've got the fan blowing in and trying to block some of the sunlight from that one spot that was, but this is, it's hot here. So I appreciate you guys and allowing, if you hear the fans and the fan noise, it's not demons. It's just me trying to stay cool. But let's watch this for a second and see if you hear what I heard. 1 second. Let's share this screen. Oops, hold on one moment. Uno momento. Good golly molly. Have to share audio. Make sure you share audio. You have to always click it. It's kind of ridiculous that if I'm sharing the screen, it just make it automatic. But so listen to this. First of all, let's just set up this scene. So you can see it's an amazing set. It's an amazing set. Now, who built this set? Well, obviously the Rioters did. They set dressed it. They did all of this. Now it's amazing. They got all of that done for free. You know, the I can't breathe. Now we're going to get into that very statement too. You're going to have to follow along. This is not Burger King. You can't have it your way. You can't have it in 5 minutes or less. You're going to have to follow this so you can understand we're identifying the serpent here. Let me put these on. We're identifying the serpent here. And because we're identifying the serpent, you're going to find where it weaves in and weaves out. So just pay attention. Let's start here and watch this.
The why people have been out on the streets protesting, why this violence is taking place. There is some action behind you. Hang on.
Yep. We've got one person being arrested.
Okay, now, first of all, I'm going to just walk you through something to show you. First of all, this is at 5:09 a.m. in the morning, so most of the rioters had gone home. And then all of a sudden, this massive police presence shows up. Very well orchestrated. Look at them. So just like a bunch of locusts coming with their little stingers. So, but let's watch this because pay attention to this. So you're going to see these cops over here run. Now, did you see those cops over there run? And then the camera spins around to this one person right here that they're going to get. Now, think about this. They run around behind this person. I'm just telling you this for a reason. Behind this person. Because now at that point, when that person showed up behind the crew and that person was violating their line, now they go after that person. But they get to really say, and probably what they tried to justify and what they will try to justify is that the CNN crew was now interfering with them because they were standing between them and this person. Just saying that this is one tiny little element. I'm just pointing this out, but it's kind of crazy that this one person was such a massive threat.
Yep. We've got one person being arrested here.
And that person looked like they definitely needed to be taken down, right?
Yep. I got you. Hold on. They had us here. We're speaking with State Patrol right now. Give us a second, guys. We can move back to where you'd like. We can move back to where you'd like here.
Notice the 91 on this guy's head.
We are live on the air at the moment. This is the four of us. We are one team. Just put us back where you want us. We are getting out of your way, so just let us know. Wherever you'd want us, we will go. We are just getting out of your way when you're advancing to the intersection.
Whatever you want from us.
So
yeah.
Just let us know, and we got you.
Now, I don't care about this guy being arrested and all of that. This is, I mean,
and
CNN's been doing this stuff since the beginning of time. They've been manufacturing news events, but this is more about a larger.
Local police showed up at the fire department.
This is more about a larger presence. I mean, look, there are no more rioters, but all of these are here, all standing on guard like something's going to happen any second. Well, I guess it could, but highly doubtful. I'm pretty certain that they have some eyeballs in the sky and know exactly what's coming up around them. This is a beautiful propaganda piece. And by the way, if you don't think that the United States media and the United States government coordinate propaganda, well, then look up that Obama was the one that had overturned the law that prevented the government from utilizing media to create propaganda to manipulate Americans. Literally, the man passed that law. He's also the one that armored up these folks The mere fact that we have military MRAPs all over this country at local police departments and things like this. Also, let me just say this, that St. Paul, Minneapolis, where this is taking place, has had quite a few riots over the past 4 years around killing people. One of them being a white guy. So let's not make this about race, but it is also going to be about race. Understand? So when I talk about the enemy weaving in and out, this is why you must pay attention. There are multiple strategies taking place simultaneously. One feeds the other. So pay attention as we go through this, but this has to be established right now because this guy reveals something during the course of this.
Or with the fire department, I should say, on the building we showed you that was burning. This is among the state patrol unit that was advancing up the street, saying and scattering the protesters at that point for people to clear the area. And so we walked away. I'm sorry? Okay. Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir? He's under there right now.
Okay.
You are arresting him live on CNN. We told you before that we are with CNN.
It's coming up here at the 4-minute mark. I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit here.
Being arrested.
So now he gets arrested.
Allison, let's listen into what these officers are saying.
They're not saying anything yet. Let's go up.
Television reporter Omar Jimenez being led away by police officers. He clearly identified himself as a reporter. He was respectfully explaining to the state police that our CNN team was there and moving away as they would request. And then for some reason, he was just taken in to police custody live on television. I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, Allison. I just wanted to listen to see if we could hear more from the officers, the state police, as this is going on.
Yeah. We're trying to see what's going to happen, John, obviously, to the rest.
How about that, guys?
Now listen.
We're just out here reporting the closure of the streets. They just, Omar was just arrested. I believe they're all about to be arrested. That's our producer.
Our CNN producer is
I'm
being,
probably going to be taken in a minute.
our CNN camera crew and our producer are being arrested right now on live television in handcuffs.
I've never seen anything like this.
What do you,
Al,
What do you mean you've never seen anything like this? There are thousands of First Amendment auditors out there that get arrested and hassled all the time, and they're just doing what you're doing. Be in the news, be in the media.
why are you arresting them? I mean, we're just passing along the message, your message.
Now, did you hear that? Listen to that one more time.
I mean, we're just passing along the message, your message.
Wow. Did you hear that? We're just passing around the message. Your message. Yours, these guys, all of them. So now we're getting someplace. So I'm going to share something else with you. So let's just think about this a little bit more. Let me share the screen again. And this was from 2017. The U.S. has been at war for 222 of 239 years. Interesting. Yep. This is who we are. This is who we've been. Now, they say the Constitution. Well, how long was the Constitution actually in place? A very, very short period of time. Now, let me go to another tab here. See, this is a really crappy setup because I can't just switch tabs unless maybe I can. Let me try this here. Going back to this next tab. So I'm going to give you a little bit of understanding, and this is important. As I said, let's watch how the serpent moves here. I don't need to hear anything right now. 1 second. Let's see and go to. Here you are. list of wars involving the United States. Well, it's quite interesting. Just go to Wikipedia. Of course, the American Revolutionary War. You see who the combatants were, who both sides were. Cherokee American Wars, Northwest Indian War, Shays Rebellion, Whiskey Rebellion, Quasi-War, Whiskey Rebellion, Freeze Rebellion, First Barbary War, German Coast Uprising. Look at all these. 1812, the Creek War, Second Barbary War, First Seminole War. You're going to start to see something. Texas Indian Wars, the Araucarian War, Winnebago War. I wonder if there were RVs there. I'm just kidding. Trying to keep things light too, you know. Texas Revolution, Second Seminole War. You can go on and on. Apache Wars, Bleeding Kansas, the Puget Sound War. This is up there in Seattle area. Puget Sound, look at this. The United States, Snoqualmie. Now, Snoqualmie, Indian tribe. And who were they fighting? All of these different tribes, because the Snoqualmie was becoming very incorporated here with the United States. So look at this. The Haida, the oldest known living nation on Earth. I've spent a lot of time with them on Queen Charlotte Islands out there in British Columbia. They are a phenomenal people that canoed from the coast of British Columbia to Hawaii on a regular basis. So they're kind of integrated with Samoan folks. But understand, look at this. Navajo wars, Indians, wars. All of these wars have to do with what's in America's interest. So now, what do you think is in America's interest? Interesting. What's in our interest? Well, what did the Indians do? What did the natives in this country do on anywhere in the world? Well, they lived without government. They lived without government. They sustained themselves without government. They lived off the land. They lived with themselves. No, they weren't slaughtering each other before we got here. They weren't. That's a fable. This is what this country has done. This is who we are. And this literally leads to where we're at right now. So if you want to follow these things, we don't like people that we don't like. We don't like people that aren't involved in our society. Now, I need to say this to you, that as I progress with these things, when I say things like, we don't like this, I'm speaking of the country. I'm not speaking of me. You have to be able to separate the things. Just because I speak honestly and truthful about the activities of law enforcement officers will not mean that I am supporting them. I'm just simply saying the facts about their situation. And if I'm saying something about rioters and protesters, well, I'm not necessarily supporting them either. So anybody that wants to categorize me as saying, oh, you're supporting the rioters. No, I'm supporting something in them. The result of how it's happening doesn't really matter. But here's what is a remarkable part about all of these different wars. So people say to me, yes, but you know what they're doing isn't accomplishing anything. Nothing gets accomplished like that. Really? Hypocrites? It's okay. You sent your country over to Iraq, murdered more than 1 million people, and Afghanistan, and probably more than 1 million people there as well. And wherever else in the world you've wanted to go, you've accomplished everything you've wanted to accomplish by brutalizing other humans. So this is the pattern. So hypocrites that say that nothing gets accomplished that way. Well, yes, apparently it does get accomplished that way, because we as a country have accomplished everything that way. Everything. Do I agree with that? No. This is why I'm saying you have to follow along. This is not easy stuff. I'm just saying that is hypocrisy to say it doesn't get accomplished that way. But what we do have is not riots about them killing one guy. Their line, their mantra, I can't breathe, is their mantra too, not just his. They killed him that way, and that's what he was saying. I can't breathe. And a cop would say to you, if you can talk, you can breathe. That's what they would say. They say it all the time. Well, obviously that's not true because it kills people, but they still continue to do it. And it's not the first time it's happened. It's happened on camera many times, much less how many times it has happened off camera. And I don't know, the guy just fell and hit his head, or he suffocated, or whatever. Most of the time, these things are never charged. They're never even brought up because the person that they're doing it to does not have a voice. Why do they not have a voice? Because they're not part of society. Are they not part of society because they chose to? No, they're not part of society because of where they're at, what they've gone through, what they've endured. And for anybody to stand on the outside of that and say, you have just as much opportunity as anybody, I will tell you right now that that is 1000% bullshit on every level. On every level. And you could say, well, you accomplished all of those things too, and you were poor in the streets. Absolutely. What did it take? Oh, it took amazing tenacity, but it also took some different understandings, being around different people, being integrated into their society, be willing to play that role. People that want to be authentic don't want to go pretend to be anybody. They don't want to pretend to be a lawyer. So this is what we're facing. And I'm going to talk to you about this because Malia and I have been discussing this in depth about what is actually happening in people. So I want to cover that because Christ has been, as I've said many times, taken over. I'm going to cover that later on in this show because, like I said, we've got a lot to cover and unwrap. And as I go through these individual pieces, you're going to have a much greater clarity of what's happening because those people protesting, saying, I can't breathe, that is them. That there is a massive portion of our society that can't breathe, that does not have a voice. Trust me, you think, oh, well, they can assemble like everybody else. Bullshit. It doesn't work that way. Not only that, somebody to put a gate and say, okay, you need to register and pay for this and pay for a certificate to be authorized to assemble. This is an unauthorized or unlawful assembly. Are you out of your minds? Unlawful assembly. Assembly of Dissent is exactly that. They're not going to register for a certificate of authenticity, that they're authentically arguing what they want to argue. I can promise you, if they went up and they went to fill out the form and said, you know what, we want to show you something. We want to burn down your corporate symbols, that although they feed us in our neighborhood, we know that they are killing us. Just because you're enslaved to them doesn't mean we are. We would rather not have them in our presence if it means the heavy boot of tyranny comes, because that's what it is, because they got to keep the peace. And so now people need to prove their existence. They need to prove their worth of their job. They need to justify the fact that they have all of these officers. St. Paul's had many riots. How many do you think maybe they've caused intentionally so they could, number one, practice with their new gear and justify the millions that they spent on all of it to be militarized police forces inside of Andy Griffith's America? So why do they need MRAPs? Why do they need these militarized weapons? Why do they need all of this stuff? Because of riots just like this. Well, guess what? Riots just like this. How would they know to buy up all of these MRAPs? How would Obama know that the police departments would need these IED armor piercing or armor blocking or ballistic bomb blocking trucks? To a certain degree, they also get their ass handed to them on the massive IEDs. But why do local police departments need these things? Why do they need militarized gear? Why do they need automatic weapons? Not automatic weapons. Well, because they anticipated this. How could they possibly anticipate such a thing unless they planned it? Why does anybody in any business or any government spend a bunch of money and justify the spending of a bunch of money for something that sounds as crazy as this? Well, my gosh, we might have tens of thousands of angry people trying to burn down the police station. And they did. And good for them. It was a good statement on their mark. it was a good statement of what they wanted to accomplish. And since then, they've charged the officer with third-degree murder. So I actually just want to show you something, interestingly enough, to show you how placated some of these people could be. Go over here. Okay, hold on, not that one. I've got a whole bunch of stuff to show you. Sorry. Here, hold on one second. I have an internet interruption message, folks. Sorry about that. Something's going on with my internet. I apologize. Well, you can never get around these gremlins, especially when you're starting to cover these pieces. Okay, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to actually skip to something. Here it is. I'm going to skip to Jimmy Dore, because Jimmy Dore is, first of all, was a political beast, progressive, was with the Young Turks. He's made some massive transitions. This is a man that is waking up, and politics is becoming less part of what he's discussing. In fact, he's destroying all politicians, left and right. And he destroys them with really, really good information. So let me just let you listen to him for a minute, because this is going to bring us to where I wanted to get us to next along this pattern and path of how the enemy is operating right now. Because you're going to see that, yes, this is being organized by government entities, by cabals. It isn't a right or left thing. Both sides are playing both sides of themselves. They are all involved in this at every single level. They might seem like opposition, but as I've said, this is simply two cabals fighting for who is going to rule over you, as they've sucked up everything, the theft that is going on. Now, listen to Jimmy, because this is why I'll play someone like this. I'll play him because I don't need to say it if he says it. If he says it just as good or better, let him say it. I don't have to be the one saying it.
But I just want to show you just a few things, just to keep in mind.
Hold on. Let me make sure that I'm actually sharing the audio here, folks. That's the wrong one. Boy, I'll tell you, this really, really sucks. I apologize. I don't like this StreamYard crap. I don't know why people like it. It's so restrictive, but it was just easy for me to set up today. I apologize. And it also uses less processing power. And since it's so hot, I've been concerned that this PC would shut off. So I have a fan blowing on it and trying to keep it cooled down. But let me share this screen one more time. And I have to find it. It's ridiculous. It makes you choose it on the stupid tab. Otherwise, it shows my entire monitor, and my monitor's like this wide. So I put many screens on the same monitor. So let's get to this. I can't even believe this is this difficult. It's not even showing up on here. Here, I'm trying to show this screen, and it asked me for the tabs. It's clearly on one of these tabs, and when I go to open it up, it says it doesn't have it. So I'm going to have to choose the application window here. Got it. I apologize. So when I choose the application window, interesting. So this is the problem. When I choose the application window, it doesn't allow me to share the audio. So I have to share a Chrome tab. So I'm going to move this tab up to here. Don't make me start screaming in Italian or something. Okay, let's try this one more time. Here it is.
So, of course, the Minneapolis police officer at the center of the George Floyd's death had been with the department since 2001. During his career, he was the subject of dozen police conduct complaints, and he was never disciplined. So you don't think the guy who just kneeled on the guy's neck for 9 minutes straight until he died has done other unbelievable, nefarious shit, and that other cops know about, and that he never, ever prosecuted for? Of course he has. At least probably a dozen times. So, of course, and so that's the point I want to make about police in America, and I'll make this before. You know, I know a lot of cops. My grandfather was a cop.
Pay attention to this. This is what I'm talking about. I know a lot of cops too. One of my wonderful, wonderful friends is one, and he's watching now. I have many law enforcement friends, but this is bigger than law enforcement. This is a condition. This is a segment. This is something that is seeded into humans. It is something seeded into our culture. It is something seeded into the social fabric. Pay attention.
My dad was a cop. My oldest brother was a cop. Some of my best friends in Chicago were cops. Went to their weddings. And they're all nice to me because they know me. But cops, they're not plucked out of society. You know, they're not just like, there's a certain mindset that is attracted to policing. And the ones who are attracted to it for the right reason get weeded out. That's what happens. They get weeded out. And the people who aren't okay with this kind of brutality get weeded out. People who are okay are the ones who make it. They rise. And they rise. Yeah. Are there good people who join the police force? Yes. Do they get weeded out? Yes. Or they succumb to the culture. And so here's a guy making sure nobody fucks with his buddy while he kills a guy. Is he a criminal? Yes. He's complicit in a murder. That's normal business. And nobody would have charged them if this videotape wasn't made public and people didn't scream about it. The cops would have been like, they would probably got a day off. Cops are out of control in America. They're an out of control, overly militarized, sociopathic group of people who we give guns and clubs to. Half of them are on steroids. Half of them came back from a war zone. These are the opposite of people you want being police. And how are they trained? They're trained to escalate. They're never you ever hear cops? You ever hear this? I heard Barack Obama say this. Police officer's most important job is to make sure he gets home safe at night. That's not his most important job. That's not his number one job. A police officer's job is to make sure I get home safe at night. That's why you volunteer. Because you want to serve. You want to put your life on the line. Cops are the most trigger-happy people in the world. They are never putting their life on the line. They're shooting you first and asking questions later. Did you see the cops just on the 101 yesterday? They drove over some guys in their car because they were scared. Because the cops were scared. So they get to run over people in their car.
Let me just say this. So this is going to be a little tip for what you'll look for in the future. Because agencies all have their authority aspect. IRS has their agents, their cops. Everybody has their version of cops. If you don't think that the medical and the health department have their cops, wait, you're about to see millions of them called contact tracers. They will act under the authority of the health department. And they will have as much authority to arrest and abuse you as anybody else does, because they are really important, which is why they're being exalted right now, flying over these crucial and essential workers, these people. You need to honor them. You need to make it politically incorrect to talk bad about these medical professionals. Make it politically incorrect to talk about law enforcement. Make it politically incorrect to disagree with what the military does. To make it politically incorrect to disagree with what another country does. we have to deal with right now. We can't even talk about Israel or Saudi Arabia. You don't talk about our partners like that. Partners in what?
What if you're scared of the cops? What if there were cops surrounding your car and you decided to floor it and you ran some of them over? You'd be charged with murder. Doesn't matter if you're scared from the cops, and you have a right to be scared from the cops, because cops are a bunch of murdering psychopaths who have impunity to kill you.
Well, they've tried to kill me.
So cops are the most trigger-happy, cowardly people in the country, and they give them guns, and then they train them to shoot first and ask questions later, and to always escalate the violence. If someone doesn't obey your command, you go to the next level.
I'm going to pause this for a second. I want to show this comment. Rick Walker says, what rights do we have as citizens to step in and stop a crime when it's being committed by law enforcement? You know, it's not about what rights you have. It's about a duty. Anybody standing there, they definitely probably would have been tased, shot, beat, and arrested for jumping on that cop. I certainly would have. No question about it. I wouldn't have let him sit there do that. I'd have been right there, first of all, trying to talk him down off of that. And then if he didn't, I'd have been arrested, shot, tased, beat up, because there's no way at least that guy would be alive. It's amazing. And Rick's a great guy. I know Rick. So, but it's amazing. But this is what we have to contend with. When you see somebody violating another human being, you fix it. That doesn't mean you go and beat that guy up, but you intercede. You can.
They're all steroided out maniacs who dig it. They're not cops because they don't like fucking with people. They're cops because they get off on it.
By the way, it's not necessarily steroids, that too. Adderall is a big, big, big problem. Matterall is a thing that when you have Adderall too much, you have something called Matterall. You're always angry. You're always on defense.
Do you know a cop? Have you ever met a cop? To a person, they dig it. They love it. They love the power. That's why they're cops. They get to carry a gun and tell you what to do. Oh no, I'm trying to help my community with a gun. So that's, I give this speech every once in a while. I don't cover these police brutality things much anymore because it's too hard emotionally for me, and nothing's ever going to change. Nothing is ever going to change. They've been doing this for 40 years. Mm-hmm. Nothing is ever going to change. No.
There's the problem right there.
Okay. There's still... Where's the politician saying we should clear out our prisons? Why are we the largest penal colony in the world? Land of the free, home of the brave. Where's the politician saying we got to cut our prison population in half? Where's that guy? No, there's no one. We had a black guy as our fucking president, and we had a black guy at the head of the Justice Department. And you know what they did? Nothing. You know what they did? They sent militarized gear to all the cops in the country. That's what the first black president did. He militarized the cops in our country. So keep that in mind about cops. It's okay to generalize about them because it's a mindset that's attracted to that profession, and people who don't have that mindset get weeded out, or they succumb to the culture. And what is the culture? This is the culture. Me kneeling on your neck, doing whatever I feel like, and you watching me do it and covering for me and keeping the citizens away as I kill a guy in broad daylight. These guys are nuts. Cops in America are fucking nuts. They're out of control, hopped up on the goofball.
Okay, so I'm going to address this because I see these comments. And if I can find this comment here, where there's evidence that it's all staged, John X Army and all of these people. First of all, I don't care what channels or anybody says about something. Everything, folks, everything is staged. This is the world stage. It's a stage. And organizations and money are players in it. They are planning to influence and do things. However, in order for them to succeed at anything like this, please use your minds. You don't have, yes, you got buses coming in and they bust in people into this area and people got buses. Trust me. It isn't that some organization is paying for that bus all the time. I'm sure Soros and all of their operatives, they love this shit. This is what they like. But make no mistake about it. If you don't think that Trump's side of the cabal isn't in on this as well, they don't like it, but they like it. Because ultimately it's accomplishing what they all want. They all want this. But understand this. These thousands of people, the only reason these people can foment these things and manufacture these things is because they are taking real issues that are happening inside of people, things that are actually going on in people. People have been watching the buildup and the militarization and all of the issues going on with the police. They've seen this. They know it happens. They feel it. But you know what they do? They're so invested, and this is something that Malia and I were discussing. They are so invested in their previous picture of their life, the graven image. The graven image is, what have you tried to create? What image did, when somebody said to me, I'm trying really hard to be like Jesus. And I go, you know what? Be very careful at what you're doing there. Because if you are creating a picture in your mind, an image of what he does and how he acts, you are following a graven image. The Spirit speaks, you do. I do what the Father says, period. I don't follow a picture, an image of what I think it's supposed to look like. That in and of itself is death. Because obviously everything is an illusion. So if I'm trying to be an illusion and that investment is very big, well, guess what? I'm just not going to see this taking place in America. I'm going to ignore the fact that there's MRAPs. And by the way, I will find a way to justify it because I watched the news and they told me the terrorists are in America, that they're here and they're going to attack and they're going to, all of these fear tactics to justify all of this crap that they're doing. And then they spring this on you. Because these are the terrorists they've been warning you about here in America. Rioters, me, you, Jimmy Dore, cops that quit. And make this note for the Kevin Moylans out there, and I'm going to talk about Kevin Moylan's tweets. I'll show those later on. But when people, news people, or you're out there fighting on behalf of the cabals, my warning to you, throughout all history, ask anybody that was around Hitler or any of these times or any time that a tyrannical government took over the people. The very people that were on the news, the very agents on the streets selling this to the people were the first ones killed once they caged all of the people. Why? Because those people then realize, only then realize what they've helped them do. And now they're a bigger threat than the people in the cages. But thank you for allowing us and helping us to put the people in the cages. So all of you will be the first to go unless you become 1000% robotic, change your tune and go, I can see how you did that out of love. I can see how your God needed the wrath to happen. Nobody would have seen it unless he killed everybody. And you know what? God needs that sacrifice. Their God needs that blood sacrifice. That isn't the Father. Remember. Let me keep playing this. This is important to watch.
They're all juicing. And they all cover for each other, which is why they're all criminals.
Thin blue line.
Look what the cops did to the black and brown people in New York. You think those are decent people? Those are people who like fucking with you. That's what it takes to do stop and frisk. You have to be a little bit of a maniac to do that. And that's the kind of people who become cops. They're a little bit of a maniac already. You ever see a movie? There's a movie called Serpico. Al Pacino's the star. You should watch it. That's what policing is like. They're criminals. My neighborhood in Chicago growing up, the cops, they were all selling coke. They all got busted. They called the Marquette 10. They were all dealing drugs, killing the people that were testifying against them. They're all criminals. That's why they're attracted to that shit. They're power-hungry maniacs. And we need a complete rethinking of how we police people in America. Complete. We had Michael Wood on this show, a Baltimore sergeant to the Baltimore Police Department who studied this as an academic, and he's been on the show. Go watch those interviews. Go watch those interviews with him, because you don't have to listen to me. I'm just a nightclub comedian. You can go listen to a guy who was on the job as a sergeant in the Baltimore Police Department for how many years? 10, 15, 20 years. And now he studies police brutality as an academic. Go watch those videos. I want to remind people also that if you see violence happening, there's a good chance that it's being started by the police, by undercover police that are infiltrating the protesters to make them look bad.
Fomenting the rage.
That the police often do this. The police are the instigators. Police start they start the buildings on fire. They start shooting stuff. It's the police who almost always are infiltrating and instigating. You know what they did at Occupy Wall Street? Look what they did in Ferguson. They're doing it here too. And guess what? It looks like they caught one of them. Here, watch this video. So I think he's breaking windows there. And he's doing something.
He was trying to light fires inside of these buildings, smashing the windows and breaking and lighting fires.
And so then they saw him. They're like, "Hey, who's this?"
But they knew he was wrong. There was something that was different about him and everybody else. And it's not that other people weren't starting fires. They ultimately did. But this guy, this is before any of the fires started. So he had started it. And then, of course, once there was one fire, well, then everybody else gets the other idea. So this is the fomenting the rage.
Oh, was he trying to start a fire?
Wearing an umbrella, interesting.
That's a Fed. That's a.
You wanna go? What's up? Somebody hold my blunt. Hey, somebody hold my blunt.
Hold my blunt. You want to go? Hold my blunt. That was funny.
Wow.
So now, apparently the guy holding the camera wasn't putting up with that guy's shit because he turned around. Right? He went after the guy with the camera, and then he turned around and walked the other way immediately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you a fucking cop?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's a cop. So you want to see what he looks like here?
Real goon.
Let's see how they're all dressed up.
He's covered
The most important part of this video is coming.
head to toe.
He's got a gas mask on. He would get if you were a cop. So he doesn't get tear gas.
Black coat. What?
He goes, "Get away from him! I'm going to fight you right now."
Why?
He's
This
a
kid doesn't
cop.
look aggressive.
Because he's a cop, Steph. That's why. He's an undercover cop doing illegal shit. That's why he would do that. You were seriously asking why he would say that, right? Okay. So that's a cop that looks like to be a cop doing undercover illegal shit. I'm showing you this not because I can definitively prove that's a cop, but I'm saying that's what it looks like. He has the full mask on. He's got the umbrella. He's got the gloves. He's fucking a little bit too dressed up. Black bloc. If it's black bloc, they're a little more shabbily dressed. They're dressed as nicely as this guy. He's a little too well put together. That guy, if I had to bet, would say that guy's a Fed. And let's just remember, it's the cops who are the criminals. We live in a criminal country. Criminals run our country. They just looted it. The criminals just looted our country in the middle of a crisis. They used a crisis to steal from us. Those are the criminals.
Now, what he's discussing is they've used the crisis of this pandemic for the Federal Reserve to suck up properties in the midnight market, the overnight markets for banks, and they have been sucking up and buying and stealing everything. Nobody cares because, oh, they're the Federal Reserve. It's us. It's us. We're doing it. Like they're going to share with you or something. The Federal Reserve is now the single largest landowner on earth. Now, somebody that's a patriotic, red-blooded American that believes the government loves Trump, thinks he's the savior, thinks he's going to come and save everything, would go, that's awesome. See, that's how we'll rule China and all of them. All of these attitudes are the sickness. Something over somebody, gaining something over somebody better than they have. My God, how can you not see this?
And let's remember what Martin Luther King said, shall
Pay attention to this.
we? Here's what he had to say.
This points to what I was talking about earlier when that guy from CNN told the cop, we're trying to tell your story. We're here to tell your story. This is the problem. This is why their tagline is, I can't breathe. None of them can. I can't.
Must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. In the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility in the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Social justice and progress are the guarantors of riot prevention. I like what he said there. They pulled it out. This is my favorite part of that, what he just said. I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard.
That's the message. That's what a riot is. It's the message of the unheard. They don't have another way. Now, here's the thing. If you want to accomplish something, well, they charge this officer. Okay, so I'm going to show you another thing here. It's quite entertaining. Boy, I'll tell you, what a pain in the butt all of this is. So they have charged the officer with third-degree murder. So you can look up what third-degree murder is. And third-degree murder says first-degree murder is unlawful killing with some amount of premeditation and planning, whereas second-degree murder is unlawful killing without the level of premeditation and planning, and there is no third degree. However, there is third-degree murder in other states. Third-degree murder, just a few. Florida, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, and Wisconsin. Just a few. All of them have very different definitions of, I'm sorry, see, this doesn't allow me to share two tabs. I hate this thing. Sorry, I'll never use this stupid ass StreamYard again if I can help it. But as I said, I'm looking here. Let me just share this other tab so you can see this. I want people to think that I'm not using the right information. Third-degree murder, different categories in each single state. So it goes down and it shows what it is in each state. You can reference this. You can get this third-degree murder. Just look it up on Wikipedia. It's really, it's a charge that says somebody died. we really didn't intend to. It was sucky that it happened, and we'll put him in prison for a certain period of time, kind of arbitrary at our discretion. When we think he should be out, he should be out. It's really BS. It's not a real charge. Now, is that to say that we should mob execute this officer because he did that? No, but there is more to that story too. We're finding out that that officer knew that man before. Interesting. Knew him before. He had interactions with him before. It's actually reported that they worked together before. So maybe this guy might have actually been an informant at some point. You never know. But the point is, he knew him. And that makes it even more egregious, because then there is premeditation, or at least the potential for it. So there is more there. So I'm going to try closing some of these tabs that I'm not using, because the way that this stupid thing works is not very good. Reports are also showing that these types of uprising, they're just focusing on right now in St. Paul, but these uprisings are happening all over the country. You can expect them. You're seeing them in Los Angeles. You're seeing them in Texas. You're seeing them in New York. You're seeing them up north. You're seeing them all over the place. They're going to happen more and more often, and it's going to get uglier. So, but while the rest of the world is worried about Kylie Jenner not actually being a billionaire, it's truly remarkable the things that you find. But let me go through and talk to you about and show you a little thing just about this militarization that we're talking about, the militarization of the police.
Men in Kevlar vests and helmets, camouflage, carrying automatic rifles, moving in tactical armored vehicles. These aren't American troops on the battlefield, but police in Ferguson. One observer says he thought he saw police in an MRAP.
An MRAP is a mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicle. It's built to withstand armor-piercing bombs. This is not something that we need in American communities.
But Kara Dansky of the ACLU says more than 500 MRAPs have made their way from Afghanistan and Iraq to local police forces in America.
500 of these things.
Just over the past couple of years. It's part of what the ACLU, in a recent report, called the excessive militarization of American policing. Indications of that are everywhere in Ferguson. Police in these towns are getting much of this combat equipment free of charge from the Pentagon. The Defense Department says just in 2013, nearly $450 million worth of military equipment was given to law enforcement. A defense official says Ferguson police only got a couple of Humvees and a trailer.
Now, they only do that because they're preparing for something. They can only prepare for something that they're intending to cause. So, next. Wanted to show a little bit of this. This is the actual St. Paul Police Department that is training for just this, because they've had a few riots already and they're going to have more.
With some officers even playing demonstrators. While St. Paul Police did not want to reveal all of their special operations strategies, some were obvious, like formations of officers pushing protesters back.
Move back! Move back! It's remarkable what people say to us.
Commander Joshua Legault did say part of the training focuses on not responding to taunts.
We train our officers to understand that when people are expressing themselves, they're feeling pain.
Another emphasis, clear and constant warning.
They're feeling pain. So we just need to listen and then beat them.
It's like this one, when protesters are endangering themselves and others.
Immediately disperse. Need to break up this assembly. If you do not, you may be arrested and subject to other police action.
And in the end, St. Paul Police say those appeals worked. Most protesters did comply and they left the interstate. Again, only 18 people were arrested compared with more than 100 last year. And perhaps most importantly of all, no one was injured.
That is incredible, Esme. And it was very much controlled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Controlled. Interesting word to choose there. So I also want to show something else. Now, when you want to understand why people get upset and how these things, they don't show this to you, but this officer, when people were so upset, people went to go to the man's house, which, by the way, I have a friend on Twitter, Patrick Dancy. Good on you, Patrick. that showed up at the officer's house for a protest. But he was showing up at the officer's house in Florida, where he owns this big, beautiful vacation home. The guy that has more than a dozen complaints of abuse of power under the color of law, or the color of law, color of authority. So they say during the course of this, they can kind of violate your rights. Now, let's just look at this, because this is an interesting one. People went to protest not at his vacation home in Florida, but at his house there in St. Paul. Let me get this up and just look at how many, if I can find this stupid thing. What's the name of this one? They've taken you. Oh, it is that one. Okay, here you go.
They are defending a murderer's house.
Now, there is some...
Hold on.
Fucking many are defending this killer's house. Look how fucking many are defending this killer's house. Look how fucking many are defending this killer's house. Look how fucking many. Look how fucking many. Look how fucking many. Look how fucking many are
Sorry for the repetitive.
defending this killer's house. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look how fucking many. They're defending a murderer's house.
Now that shot right there, you can just see how many here. They were all around. There was another shot on a different video that I saw. It was just one angle. And there were, I mean, maybe 900 there. Now, the guy wasn't even home. He had moved his location. So it just goes to stand to reason. Now, they would have burnt down his house. But that's the whole point. That's the thin blue line. The reality is that brotherhood aspect of that, the brotherhood or patriotic aspect of anything, the religious, I would say your religious adherence to brotherhood of those in your church or anything. I will defend those people through what? To what extent? To where you'll defend them regardless of what they do, simply because you're of the same ilk or the same club. Officers do this. This is the condition that's been set up. So I'm going to show something even more important, because this is a history of things. We've got these cops shooting this unarmed man in the hotel right here in Arizona. So it's not about another state. This happens here. This happens everywhere. But there was something that really took place. And I'm going to get to the riots in Hong Kong here, because this is going to be very important. But I'm going to play something for you right here as a reminder.
Come out just overnight of that dangerous showdown between police and Christopher Dorner. Listen to the bullets.
This is from 2013. So this is what happens when an officer... This is what happens when an officer that sees something that is going on wrong, where his partner is abusing a man, and he pushes his partner off and says, yo, you can't. And he's a sergeant. He's like, no, don't do that. This is a military veteran. He was well loved. He was decorated. You can see his face down here, right here. Christopher Dorner. You see his face there. But because he stood up against his boss, his department then came after him, and he filed a complaint against his sergeant, and they came after him and fired him and tried to disparage him in his name and his record and everything because he went against them. This is why other officers don't, because their departments come at them. Now, what did Chris Dorner do? Boy, they sure don't like to bring this guy up because of what he did and then what they did to him, because what you're going to witness here, or what you're hearing in this story, in this video, he went after and killed the cops that disparaged him and came after him in the department. And then they sent, the entire Los Angeles city and state and everybody after this guy and found him in Lake Arrowhead in a cabin. And on radio, I was following this entire event as it happened. And I was scanning radios and recording all the police radio activity all over the mountain. And so were other people. And they literally said, he's in there and he's still alive after this barrage of fire. They would act like that he was the one firing from inside, but it's crazy. They filled this house full of so many holes. And when they figured out that he was still alive, they burned it. They burned this man alive, and they said to do it on radio.
An unbelievable number of the bullets exchanged between the suspect and police surrounding the cabin. Smoke bombs fired. Investigators this morning are trying to determine if, in fact, Dorner was killed in the firefight inside a cabin that burned out at Big Bear Lake in California. Of course, we do know for sure that a sheriff's deputy was killed and shot by Christopher Dorner. ABC's Cecilia Vega has been covering the story all night and joins us now this morning with the very latest. Good morning.
Okay, so that's the Christopher Dorner. Just as a reminder, I'm not here to play the whole story. You can look it up. You can look at Chris Dorner, but this is the kind of thing. And these are not isolated incidents. This happened to be bigger, but boy, they squashed that pretty quick and people forget. But this guy was burned alive. And everybody in his family that tried to come against the department, they were shut down by courthouses and court. These people work together. And it's not because individually they want to do this. It's because of what happened to Chris Dorner. That if you go against them, well, all of a sudden you run into Romans 13. They are the authority of God, and they don't wield the sword in vain. And they don't wield it against people that aren't doing good. You got to remember, government and the law to them is God. That's what the Masons are. That's who built this place. That's what this is. Now you understand the damage and the dangers of graven images. So with that, I'm going to go to something. This is happening in China. Now I want you to pay attention because they're at a different stage already. The people in Hong Kong know what is coming down. Just so you understand that China has now been authorized legally. And everybody agrees in the whole world, the United Nations and whatever else, is that China now has the ability to end the protests in Hong Kong, to end them. Well, what authority would they need? I thought they were handling the protests like they were in this country, tear gas, pepper spray. No. They want the authority to kill all of these people. Now, here's why this is important. These people in Hong Kong are much closer to understanding what is coming here than you are. Pay attention to them and listen to this protester speak. This is true protest and true riot, where it comes from and why. Because people will die free. They will not be enslaved. This is our natural defense mechanism, not an unnatural defense mechanism. This is our natural defense mechanism. We are free, inalienable rights, right? Granted by our Creator. So much so they wrote that on the Constitution, but then said that they were affording you those rights granted by the Creator. Be careful what you allow people to say that they've granted you, because then if you agree to allow them to grant them to you, you now have also consensually agreed for them to take them away, regardless of how upset you get at it. So please pay attention to this.
District of Causeway Bay is bustling again with protesters. We are fighting for
a permanent future.
Listen.
I have no one to love. I have nothing to care but this. So I'm willing to die for this. Why? Because this is our home. Why won't you fight for your home? As simple as that. Why won't you fight for your home? We're trying to do our best to fight for at least for 2 or 3 decades. Do you see the students around here? When 2047 comes, they will all be slaves. They are just when 2047 comes, these students will all become middle-aged, and they will all be slaves. We will all be slaves. If we don't fight right now, we don't have another chance.
What does Hong Kong people, the Tibetans, deep down have in common? You call all of us cockroaches, and that is what Hitler called before they massacred the Jews. You are planning for another Holocaust. This is massacre! What Martin Luther King said, justice everywhere is injustice everywhere. You have the opportunity to show to the world what civilized China can be. But you know what? You have failed badly.
Now, I'm going to play something else just as a reminder that we made heroes, and everybody say they honor them. We honor the heroes that stand up for what? For freedom. Freedom. Do you really know what freedom is? Have you forgotten? What is taking place right now is a revealing. You can begin to see the prison walls that you live behind. You didn't know you were there yet. Let the prison walls become visible to you. They're all here. It looks like a pretty land. It looks like you can go anywhere. It looks like you can do anything. It looks like you could. You can't even go fishing without getting a license. You're not allowed to live for yourself. Why do you think we slaughtered and enslaved all the Indians? To make damn sure that they didn't teach any of you to live normally. You want to know what new normal is? Was there ever anything different than how things operate here? How is it that a hawk knows how to live with everything else? How is it that the squirrel and the cockroaches know how to live cohesively in this planet? Because it hasn't changed. The only thing that changes is what they make change for you, what they force in front of your face. They make themselves God. Why? Because they follow one. A really smart, strategic person that knows how to take control of that spirit of Christ in you and use it for their kingdom. Now you can understand the visceral activity between people, the divide, the division. Look, this is the entire system. I was writing this down. So this whiteboard here. Look at this. Division, servitude to their God. Red versus blue, division. Corporate, social, corporate, I would call that capitalist. Communist, anarchist, all different elements of it. Sports, division between people. Religion, brands, Satan versus God, good versus evil. Subjective to all perception of the above, thus making the ultimate authority government. So what is good and evil? Well, you couldn't even know right now. How could you? Because they're telling you that the rioters are bad and that the cops are evil. They're telling you that the cops are evil and the rioters are bad. They're telling you that these people are bad. How do you know? Well, this is part of the problem. If you've actually understood how they wanted to infiltrate this, well, that KGB agent from video from way back, I think it was on recently, where he was talking about how to manipulate and how to infiltrate, how the communists intend to infiltrate. And when they know that there is complete disarray, when no one can put together a logical or rational thought about what to even do to plan for tomorrow for yourself, that's when they know you. They've got you. Because now, the absence of anything, you'll take anything. You just take it. They'll tell you what, here's the soup you have to eat. Here's where you have to stand. They will put people in that position. But remember these heroes like that man. Did you hear him? He said he will die for this, because if we don't die right now, all of these people will be slaves. He's 1000% correct. And that's not just in Hong Kong, people. That's right here. You are being consolidated in your minds, in your spirits, and who you are for. And in the end, you'll all be for the same person. These people are on always both sides of the conflict. Make no mistake about it. Hitler too, the same people that made Hitler happen are the same people that benefited by him going away too. A Holocaust. A Holocaust is a burnt offering. There will be another Holocaust everywhere. All burnt offerings for the greater good, because they see anybody that doesn't see them and their government as God and their law as God. They see them as being the disease, the sickness. So let's look at this one more time. As I said, we've made heroes out of people that stand up for freedom. But listen, because we're confronted right now, today, with this same speech.
The Almighty says this must be a fashionable fight. It's drawn the finest people. Where is thy salute for presenting yourselves on this battlefield? I give you thanks. This is our army. To join it, you give homage. I give homage to Scotland. And if this is your army, what?
Amazing. It's our army. We're the ones that have convinced them. They believe in us. They think like us. Oh, well, that's why he's William Wallace. Now he'll take that from them this easy.
Why does it go? We didn't come here to fight for them. Oh, the English are too many.
This might get this video taken down. I don't care.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace. William Wallace is 7 feet tall. Yes, I've heard. Kills men by the hundred. And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse. I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? Fight against that? No! We will run! And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
Well, that was obviously an amazing movie. But what he said there, how can you argue? Oops. Hold on. We're not going to watch the entire film, although I might just watch that again tonight. The thing is what he's saying there. Would you trade all those days of not being free, this day to that? Would you trade it all for the little bit of freedom that you got right now? You don't understand that the freedom that you have right now is the only thing that allows you to be in a spiritual place that you can escape. Because the locks that they're putting on us in this next stage, they're not just bracelets of metal. These are bots of technology. This is altered DNA at levels that is staggering. This is ancient manipulation of who you are. This is to literally remove the human from you and become exactly like them. Naked and stupid in the garden, tending to it for the man. Trying to revert you back to that. Back to the original Adam, but their variant of it. Christ is before that. Is before all of this. Everything we experience right now is as a result of the infiltration. You're going to learn this very soon. You're seeing how powerful this enemy is. Recognize that the enemy is not the red man with the pitchfork and the pointy tail. That is a graven image as well. That is an image that people have established in churches and people have put out there so you don't really think the enemy's that badass and powerful. Ask any sage, they'll tell you that you need to go meet the devil so you can understand who he is before you can go see and talk and even understand the Father. I would agree. You have to meet that son of a bitch. And when you do, then you can defeat him because you realize that he's blind. He doesn't see the authenticity in you at all. He can't even hear it. He's blind and deaf to you and me in the same way that those that don't hear you are. It's amazing. And so you realize, wow, he can't hear a thing I say. It's only when you're in this world. It's only when you're in that system. Then he'll own you. But I wanted to read to you from Revelation before we end this, and I'm going to go to questions and things. But I also am going to go into Twitter here. So let me share this. So when you guys think that I don't actually have to deal with people that I know and loved and have helped. And so here's a guy, Kevin Moylan. He's an old friend of mine, very old friend, lots of years, lots of connections, knew him, hired him, gave him his career, helped him pay for all of that. Lots of stuff, lots of things. But he is so blind to a party and a system, this division that I talked about. He is so enamored, so robotic. He doesn't realize that he is only espousing. He might be crafty in how he recrafts a word hating Trump because he hates Trump. I don't like Trump either, but that's not the point. The point is that he's the guy that ultimately will help them and they'll end up killing him too because he is so much a part of that. And so he says, I had said to him, that they're not going to give you poison without sugar. And he said, sorry, I don't speak Brostradamus because it sounded philosophical. You see how it sounds philosophical or not very clear to somebody that doesn't have ears because they're asleep. They're never going to hear it. And I said, you will eventually. And he said, Derek, only people who think in coated, twisted pretzels can interpret them. No need to wrap your thoughts in some ethereal, pseudo-celestial spirit talk. Just say what's on your mind if you want the rest of us to know what you're suggesting. And I said, sadly, Kevin, the only wisdom you will have is that you're told. But first I said, where did it go? I said, go buy your own oil, because that's what that is. But sadly, Kevin, the only wisdom you will have is that you're told by your gods, money, government, news, and others that are just as asleep as yourself. all one beautiful robotic mind in sync with the supposed greater good for the greater number, a mind that destroys humans. What we're dealing with here is a condition of people, this divisiveness that they think that somehow there's a battle to win and something to accomplish and hope in that. They both arrive at the same destination. They both arrive at slavery. Both red. Are you kidding me? You think Trump is doing things for you right now? You think him going after the social media companies is a good thing? It's a good thing because you're angry because that happens. So again, here's how they foment. They make you like something that you didn't like before. You wouldn't have never have accepted Obama doing such a thing if you were a Republican. So why in the hell would you accept Trump for overstepping his powers and doing such a thing? Those powers are never given back. You understand the assets that are being taken, the rights that are being taken are never given back by these people. They fought like hell. They had to kill millions of people and do all of these illusions so they could take them from you. Do you think they plan on giving those back? Come on. How little brains do you have? This is what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to have a critical thinking ability. They do not want you to think critically. They want you to believe you're thinking critically because you're parroting those people that they say are critical thinkers. Oh, let's have them parrot this doctor or this politician. Say these words, say that thing, or that news guy. Good God. The slavery is already there. That's why they're so terrified, because they can already see the slaves being manufactured, being manifest before their eyes. I can see one right there. His name's Kevin Moylan, and he's a family friend, has been for decades. Would I accept him in my home again? Sure. When he humbled himself and he threw up on the floor and vomited at all the realizations that came to him? Sure. Until then, he's just an agent of the system and not welcome anywhere near me. That's the shaking off the dust from your boots. You don't allow agents into your home or even into your life. Keep it on Twitter. So, again, to repeat how long this country has existed and how long we've been at war for what? Oh, we're at peace. When they say peace, peace, there is no peace. There has never been peace. You have never known peace in this country. It was an illusion of peace. This is so they could convince you that they're God, because they're around the world murdering these people to make damn sure they protect your American interests. We're going to protect the American interests in the region. What the hell might those interests be? Let's go through them. Well, it's safety and security of our partners. Safety and security of our partners. I don't know. All of these police tell me that they're concerned for my safety and security as well. But, you know, I've never had one save me. I've had them hurt me a lot. Never has one helped me, actually, except in jail and in prison. And those men, to this day, are my friends. Because that's what I do when somebody supersedes the conditions of their indoctrination and demonstrate humility and show me Christ in them, even if they don't know it's Christ in them. But I love them all, and I try to pay a lot of attention to what I learned from them. So I want to read to you from Revelation here. So let me pull this up. I'm just going to read. Actually, we're going to go to, let's read Revelation 9 here. Then the fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth, and it was given the key to the pit of the abyss. The star opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke from the pit. And out of the smoke, locusts descended on earth, and they were given power like that of scorpions on earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Now, just because this is an angel, sent by God doesn't mean it's a good angel of God, but it doesn't mean it's bad either. There are dual meanings to everything, and they're always true in multiple directions. Sometimes there's way more than dual. There is a minimum of two meanings, minimum. So let me go back to this here. So I would say that you're watching and witnessing one variant of this. And the locusts looked like horses prepared for battle with something like crowns of gold on their head and faces like the faces of men. They had hair like that of a woman and teeth like those of lions. They also had thoraxes like breastplates of iron. Boy, I'll tell you, that's all you really need to see is these cops coming up and chains and lasers and handcuffs and billy clubs. It starts to look exactly like that. But let me go up to Revelation 10 here because there was something specific that I wanted to bring up. Because who we are right now, when you're in Christ, if you're on the sand, your foot on the sand is on the land, you will be involved in those wars. But you maintain one foot on the sea of the Spirit as well. You understand that the land and the sea are different. So it says, then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud with a rainbow above his head. Now, the wrapped in the cloud, this word, wrapped in a cloud, is wrapped, or at least consumed in the Spirit with a rainbow above his head. The rainbow would be representative of what he thinks or what he's carrying, what he's bringing to the front. So this one is bringing rainbow, inclusiveness, diversity, everybody, all of the people, all of the waters. That's what the rainbow is representative of. It doesn't mean it's gay. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. Everything that is good is taken and corrupted. When people want to say, oh, 33 is evil, you have 33 vertebrae in your spine. There are multitudes of 33 that is good, but the Masons took it because they control that piece and they need to manipulate Christ, which is why they use the number of Christ, 33, to pretend they're him. So when somebody comes to me and says, you're evil, you've got 33. Well, today, if you have a swastika, somebody will say, you're evil, you have a swastika. Regardless of thousands and thousands of years of the swastika being an astrological sign that means peace and love and infinite. Hitler used it for the same thing, but because of what he did in his actions and his fruits, the meaning of it became completely different. And now we have a complete corruption of something that's kind of an important thing, because if you understand what the swastika is, just look at the Big Dipper and the North Star, look up how it moves, and you're going to find the swastika in the north all the time, right there, right in front of your face, every single night. But somehow it's a bad thing. Somehow it means you like that guy, or somehow you've assimilated to that. This is the problem with even having these conversations, because if I talk about somebody, even in a good way, that they have a good thought, I must like them and believe in them. It's ridiculous. Critical thinking, folks. Critical thinking. Fruits. Follow fruits and understand all the things that I talk about here. If you have questions, put them in the chat box right now, because after I finish this, we're going to go to those questions. So let me just continue reading this right here. He held in his hand a small scroll which lay open, which means he's got it. He's got everything he needs to see. He placed his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. And then he cried out with a loud voice like the roar of a lion. And when he cried out, the seven thunders sounded their voices. And when the seven thunders had spoken, I was about to put it in writing, but I heard a voice from heaven saying, seal up the seven thunders, what the seven thunders have said, and do not write it down. These are things to be spoken of verbally only, not written down. Then the angel I had seen standing on the sea and on the land lifted his right hand to heaven, and he swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and everything in it, the earth and everything in it, and the sea and everything in it, and there will be no more delay. No more delay. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he is about to sound his trumpet, the mystery of God will be fulfilled, just as he proclaimed to his servants, the prophets. The mystery of God will be fulfilled. Now, then the voice that I heard from heaven spoke to me again, saying, go take the small scroll that lies open in the hand of the angel standing on the sea and on the land. This would be you taking something that somebody said or prophesied. And I went to the angel and said, give me that scroll. Take it. Eat it, he said. And it will make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it will be as sweet as honey. Again, this is truth. These things, these truths. It's amazing to learn them. But then when you actually understand the gravity of the serpent and how it intertwines through people and uses our own lusts, our own needs, our own investments, these people that have invested everything into being a certain image. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to do all of those images, graven, worldly images that contain zero value for anything on this earth. It's all for that God, and it's all temporary. All of it. All of it. Take it and eat it. It'll make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth, it'll be as sweet as honey, because that's what happens with truth. Beautiful when you first learn it, and then when you find out, it makes you sick. So I took the scroll from the angel's hand and I ate it, and it was sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I'd eaten it, it made my stomach turn bitter. And they told me, you must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. Nations, many people, nations, tongues, and kings. Kings, interesting. This is how we have to be. You can't get emotionally wrapped up. You can be emotionally pulled, tugged. Emotions are dangerous. Watch out for them. Try to put them aside. Analyze your situation without the emotion. I know it's hard. Emotions are manipulated way beyond what you think they are. They've turned us into these things. This is the beast system, and you still have the beast in you. You need to weed this stuff out, or you will not survive this. You'll participate in it, and you'll die by the sword just like everybody else. Because this is going to get ugly. So don't think for 1 second that I'm saying, oh yeah, I want to see it all burn. I want to see it happen the way it's supposed to happen. And when I say this is going to get worse, it's not because we can't manifest something better. Do you understand? Is that when the hurricane is already tearing up the land, you're not going to manifest its existence away. It's there. We've already done this. Every action has an equal and opposing reaction. It is impossible for these things not to take place. This is exactly why Christ said, let your hearts not be troubled. Be anxious for nothing. All of these things must come to pass. It's gotta. People will not see it until these things happen. Those that need to be awakened will be jarred into their awakening. So let me go to some of these comments, see if there's anything here in the chat box. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I have more to cover here, but it is hot and I'm sweaty and thirsty. So we already decided, comment here says, we already decided to have it happen. This is what I'm saying. We've already caused it. The rock was already thrown into the pond. The waves are already moving. You can't think the waves away. We've done this. We must humble ourselves. Let the waves pass around us, cause as little damage to us as it can. It's going to. And if they come and they take you and they take your life, give it up. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not. Tracy says exactly. He always tells the truth. Jan says he always does. I'm going to be honest with you. Hydrate. I do have some water here. I will hydrate. Warm water. But let's see what other questions you have here. Don Doob is new here. I've never seen that name. Stool purgers here. Purge that stool, says Rachel Nevone. And it's interesting. So this is the very first time I'm actually broadcasting to Facebook and to YouTube at the same time. So if you're on Facebook, share, like, do all that stuff. Let me just go back up here, see if we've got any questions or anything stated. I don't want to take up your time, so I'll just do a quick scan here. Robert Rapper says, I'm Christ, Son of God, standing in the middle of my kingdom. Absolutely. Z-Dub says, this is why Christ ministered to the poor. The Father's message resonates there. We need to get humbled. Meekify ourselves. Yes, be meek like I am meek. Meekness doesn't mean weakness. Meekness doesn't mean, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not meek. Meek is unoffensive in your surroundings, not invading on other people's kingdoms. And yes, Christ spoke to the poor because it was good news to them. What I'm talking about right now is not good news to the rich. It certainly wasn't good news to Kevin. I'm sure he says he's a crazy man. When it happens, that man's going to think about everything he's ever said to me and try to figure out if he can ever take it back. And he'll probably be one calling me for help. It has been said by many people that know me that even my enemies have me on their emergency contact dial list. I've seen that. So somebody says, Naughty Beaver, yay, Derek, yay. Is Naughty here? Did Naughty show up? Naughty comes into the chat room from time to time. I haven't seen him, but if he has, Naughty, good to see you. Divine Renegade, good to see you. Vicky Williams, Thomas Lynch, good to see Thomas. Benjamin Crossland, Victoria Cunningham, Mish, let me see, John Dickerson. There's John. Sorry, I can't read everything. I'm playing with my daughter at the park. That's all right. Play with your daughter at the park. It's far more important than this video. Watch this video later. Hopi Prophecy, the rainbow of humans. Yep. These are all different pieces that you'll be able to put together. So I'm just covering this one area. There is so much. It's exhausting. And by the time I even talked about it, there would be something new. This is why when people say time has sped up, it's because of the pace by which they are making these things happen. Get used to it. Take your time. I suggest after this video, get off YouTube for a week. Don't watch the news. Don't pay attention. Don't read anything. It's important. 666 is all human carbon. 1266. Yeah, yes, of course. That's also a piece of it. But does that mean that's the only explanation for 666? No, it's not. The US dollar is also 666. There are multitudes of 666. There are chemicals. There are laws. 666 is also a system. It's right on your dollar. It's a system. And it's what you think about. And it's what you ask for every day. That's why it's written on your forehead and your hand. It's the only way you live. This is God. One has God written on his forehead only because it's all he thinks about. But he never asks for anything. Doesn't ask for anything. Or the things that he asks for isn't for himself. Think about when Christ taught you to pray. Our Father, our Father, not my Father, the exclusive Son of God, the only begotten Son. Only begotten means the firstborn of many. Not the only son ever. Copy that. Christians, the only begotten Son in its original Aramaic and Hebrew and Greek and all those translations other than your English translation and the teachings of it, the only begotten Son means the firstborn of many. Because at the time, he's the only Son. But there's many coming. But he's the only begotten. That's not in perpetuity forever. That's why Christ said that. So let's see what else, if you have any other questions. I'm still going back through some older ones here. Boy, a lot of comments today. Michelle Mullen, good to see you. Wen Wilson says, I'm already in Arizona and can probably have some people stop here along the way or stay a night or two. Well, I'm not accepting anybody at this place or anywhere close to me right now. That's a time for a different kind of time. And if I allowed people to come to my place right now, I would never have any peace. because of where we're at and what people require. I've already experienced it. That's not happening. Not until it's absolutely critical. And then, even then, until we're gathered in major large groups, it's not going to be what you think it is. This is, again, another graven image. Just follow what you feel. Don't make images. Don't create ideas as to what something is going to look like. Don't do that. You create this image of, oh, wait, this is what it's going to be when I get there. This is what it's going to be when I meet him. I'll tell you one thing, the very first thing, complete honesty. The one thing that people are going to learn that it's difficult to do, it's difficult to live around me. Because I don't let little stuff go by. I don't let little demonic messages and stuff infiltrate your conversations with me. I don't let you do things that I won't do that. Not around me. If you're going to be around my kingdom, you're going to abide by that. And I will abide by yours. You can sit and I'll listen to you say all the dumb stuff you want. It's your kingdom. I will never give you an opinion about it. I'll never say, oh, that's a stupid thought. That's your kingdom. You're figuring that out. Mine is this. It becomes my testimony. Mine is this. This is a lesson that I've learned. The only time I'll intervene is when your kingdom has invaded on mine. And then we got a problem. And when that is met with, I didn't do that. Well, it's not an argument for me. Okay, good. Bye. You can't see it. You're not willing to see it. You're not willing to just humble yourself and go, I'm sorry, I didn't even know I was doing that. Because obviously you don't bring things up. If I bring something up, it's going to be valid because it's my kingdom. Hey, you're messing with my kingdom. Well, I'm not trying to, but you are. Well, I don't mean to, but you are. So stop. No, I'm not. Go. Go. So I can tell you right now, not that easy. I'm on it. I've done this a few times with some pretty hardened people. You can ask Big D, who's listening and watching right now. He's seen how I operate. We're going to have some of former prisoners that have spent time with me behind the wall. Hopefully at some point, some of these officers, I would like to be able to talk so they can tell you exactly how this is. So you'll know what to expect if you ever have to be around me and hang around me. They'll tell you it's a great experience, but sometimes it'll have some hard days. And I'll take those hard days too, because I certainly take when I've actually done something and somebody says this is happening. Well, I'll tell you right now, I'll be the very first person to go around the corner, sit there and contemplate, even if I can't find it, and I'll come back and I'll humble myself and I go, you know, I think it's very possible that that happened. And I won't ever let that happen again. Even if I have to remove myself from the presence. If I can't find what it was that I offended you with or did something, well, then I'll just remove myself because I don't ever want to accidentally do that again. Just how it functions. All right. So Lori Steck says 999. 9 means completion and death and dismemberment. Christ died on 9th hour numerology. Probably, yeah, a lot of different variations of that, but scripturally 10 is typically complete. 9 is feminine. 6 is man. So that's where you get the 69 from. But 9 is feminine. So 911 is basically a feminine angel or considered a calling of the Holy Spirit, believe it or not. So that's how that can also get corrupted as well. 9/11, 19s, all of that stuff. All of this is a manipulation of the Christ Spirit. They know exactly what they're doing with these numbers. They don't own the numbers. They just manipulate them. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to jump off here. I wanted to thank you all for coming. I hope I covered everything. And there is going to be more. I'm talking to a few different people. I've had quite a few pastors that have contacted me lately, and they're very troubled. Their understanding of Christianity is falling apart to them. And that's going to be a very big deal here coming up because many of these pastors that had a graven image as to what being a pastor was and all of those things, they didn't go into it because they had an actual calling. They're starting to recognize that, and they don't know what's happening. So it's pretty remarkable. And some updates also I wanted to show you. You see that right back there? This is a big server. It's a big Dell PowerEdge server with tons and tons of space. That was something that we had going, trying to build something with some other folks. Now that is becoming is a portion of a video because many people that, if you don't know, since I began this channel and this ministry and speaking these things, the way that we've been attacked is quite different. We have people donate things to us and then go to people and say, maybe they heard something, they donated, and then they heard something they didn't like, and then they say, you deceived me. And then they go and report us to the authorities and try to get the feds to look at us like we're trying to manipulate people and all that. So I always have what I'd call a dead man switch on things that happen, right? So videos that I make telling the story of who all of these people are. It's happened about 4 times since I started this, where somebody donated some money and then went after and make complaints and tries to get you put in jail, and you got cops showing up and feds and all that crap. Unbelievable. So I have dead man videos showing emails, texts, details of everything. I mean, I have everything. And when I've had law enforcement show up with one person, I handed him a thumb drive and said, there it is, all of that stuff. Go. It's all right there. All of what they did, all things they said, the people think I'm stupid. It's crazy. It's amazing that they're going to jump in and try to strategize against a strategist and think somehow that I'm going to trust everything that they do, knowing full well that I understand this world. Christ entreated no man, he knows what's in them. He only entreats Christ in others. That's how you have to entreat people. You don't entreat the man, you entreat Christ in them. You become friends with Christ in them, and anything absent of that isn't your friend. And if they become that thing that is absent of them, they need to go. But for the most part, at the same time that we've had people that have done dastardly things trying to take this ministry out and trying to just cause harm because they didn't like something I said. Blessed are those that are not offended by me, is what Christ said. But I can tell you that we've had as many profoundly impactful people that have come into this ministry and been involved with us, and they are remarkable. I wish I could tell you all about them. But this isn't how it functions. It's not important. All you need to know is that blessings abound and people are great, and this ministry has some very, very good things happening behind the scenes and things that we need to accomplish that is going to become incredibly important in the very near future. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that if anything ever happens to me, these dead man videos, these dead man switch videos that I have already recorded, I've got many of them that are just marked as private. They're uploaded. They're on YouTube. So if anything happens to me, all of those videos that were marked private will go public. And not just on YouTube. It's a dead man switch. It will go everywhere that I want it to go. So Donna Protokey says, Derek, quick question. Go ahead, Donna. I'll try to wait. I was going to close this up, but go ahead and ask. Sarah C says, thank you, brother. Much love. We've got this. You're the best. Trump Pet says, never. Tracy McCormick, Derek, looking forward to it. S. Rose, good talk. Keep up the faith. We've got this. I just saw that thing. Linda says, thank you, Derek. I'm understanding more. Ramblin' Randy 65 says, don't mess with an Anon. You know, if they even understand they just don't. They think they live in a digital world. They have no idea. Their entire identity and everything they own and everything they have, everything in the world is digital. Show. Derek, quick question. Still waiting for your question, Donna, to pop up. I don't see it popping up. Let me see very quick. Oh, yeah, sure. I can talk about this. This is great. Can you talk a little bit about the alien invasion and who these beings are? Yeah, the alien invasion will be you. You think I'm kidding? The transhumanism and everything that they want to accomplish in people DNA-wise will be an invasion of aliens. These people will no longer, they will cease being human in the way that you think. Trust me, the alien invasion happened long ago. Thomas Lynch says, Anon means one. Yes, it does. VPN update, RJ Love. Yes, VPN being built. This server and the calamity with these people that are now attacking us is part of it. The VPN, aside from them, these are people that wanted to monetize the business and wanted to donate and help, but they wanted percentages and all of that crap and asked me how much. I don't want anything, but they wanted something. So when it really came push to shove, it turned out that they really just wanted to use me to create a business to profit themselves so they could utilize and piggyback off of this channel and everything that I have to offer and build. And, you know, oh, sure, we'll pay for it, but ultimately you're going to build our business and we'll give you a percentage of it, which I don't want. I don't want to be a part of anybody's business. I don't have an interest in making money. I have an interest in surviving to accomplish what I need to accomplish and nothing more. If that means I have a bike, I have a bike. If that means I have a car, I have a car. If that means I have nothing and I'm walking, I'm walking. It means whatever. I'm good with all of it. That's when you know you've reached that spot where you're good. Who is Q literally? Well, see, here's the problem with walking the narrow path, and that's your name, not walking the narrow path, but this is the narrow path as well. Who is Q literally? There isn't a single answer. So the literally aspect of your question is, who is Q? What's his name? Where does he work? What does he do? Why is he doing this? Q is not a person. Never was. Q was always a strategy that first started out good and then got usurped. QAnon was a strategy releasing confidential information as a person that appears like they're behind the wall. They saw what it caused. They usurped it. They became Q and manipulate everybody for their sake. I watched it happen because I literally know where Q began. But that I can't say. That would be trouble for those people. Big trouble. It's funny that everybody always wants to show. They're like, well, show me your evidence. So just let me help you guys out here. If there was an Anon that I knew and he got something, let's say, from the Vatican archives digitally, and he's inside of that server or that whatever, or that safe, because sometimes an Anon isn't just digital. There's social engineering. There's all sorts of stuff. An Anon might be a person inside the Vatican. He might actually be a priest. You never know. These are people that take on these roles. So here's the reality of it. Those people that are inside, they don't expose that they're inside. By exposing, hey, I got this specific document, well, then they're going to go and they're going to find out and search and they're going to see and investigate. You don't do that kind of stuff. You simply release the information in ways that won't identify that somebody got it from a specific place or a thing. It's a very difficult thing to manage. There is no secrets here unless there's no such thing as a secret that is spoken. Once it's spoken, it's no longer a secret. So many deceived by Q. Yes, you know what? That is to keep the people that are armed quiet right now. All the fluoride activated. Oh, there's hope. Trump's got us. Look, he's going after the left. Look, he's going after the left. Really? He's also the one helping the Fed. He's also the one propping up Saudi Arabia. He's also the one propping up Israel. He's also the one withdrawing from nuclear agreements so he can actually put nukes in places that we shouldn't have them. He's the one agreeing to do all of these things. He's the one arranging for a cabal structure to own it. And him and his group are fighting with another group. All of them want the same thing. Again, the same destination. They're just arguing over who's going to run it. Both of them have the same thing in mind. There is zero difference between Democrat and Republican. You might say there is because your friend or your wife or your husband, you guys aren't the same. That's not how it is for the ones that run the show. Those people that say I can't breathe, these protesters that say they have no voice, they have no voice, they have no vote. The elections are bullshit. They're lies. These people's votes are only counted when they need them to count. They're manipulated into doing it. Everything is manipulated. Everything is taken. These people don't have a voice. Jesse Jackson's their voice. They don't have a voice. What, in DC, Barack Obama was their voice? Really? When you want to know the voice that they need to speak with, that they can't speak to anybody else, you go behind the prison walls and you talk to these brothers. You're going to see and hear atrocities. Not to say that they don't lie either. But these are documents. These are papers. These are visual. I've been there. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Nobody has to tell me about this. All right. So I won't take up any more of your time. We're almost 2 hours into this. I'm going to kill this broadcast. I'll tell you that I love you, and I have more, much more Christ-focused based things coming, because as I'm going back through, because I'm going back through the scriptures again, for very specifically for today. That's the thing about this. You always have to revisit it. So I'm going back to them today, and I'm learning. I've been always back in them, but today specifically with this frame of mind, this understanding. Every single time something comes up, you start again, you read it. You're going to understand when I tell you that there are multiple different ways. They're all true. Different angles. They're all true. Keep your head up. Keep your heart clean. Don't be angry. Stop choosing sides. Start thinking for the other side too. When you hate somebody, go, now that I hate them, let me learn to love them and find out what their meaning is and find out what their plight is and think about what they've gone through and think about why they're reacting this way. People said, oh, what did Target ever do? Shit. If you knew just how much Target is a symbol of the capitalist nature of what is destroying this country, hell, they named themselves Target, and they're surprised at what happened. I love you very much. I'll talk to you soon.